a numerous amount of abuses from various, I mean, we have almost maybe a percentage in this country, because plenty of persons argue the point that some 220,000 Bahamians in this country, but statistics states that there are some 500,000 people in this country. If both of those figures are correct, I would say, I mean, about because of 220,000 Bahamian and it's 500,000 people. I mean, clearly, at one time, we are outnumbered as Bahamian in this country. And I don't have nothing against Haitians, Jamaicans, Dominicans, Peruvian Americans. I don't have nothing against no one. But you have a country, and a small country with limited resources, right? And you have politicians who run for these constituencies that has some 2,000 members, 2,000 voters, 3,000 voters, some 4,000 voters in some constituencies, a few of them, and they can't manage them. So you couldn't imagine trying to deal with a percentage of people in this country who are not Bahamians. I mean, it's just unbelievable. When he told me that their defense force boat was rammed by I said, but you only shoot at the boat? He said, you can't just shoot at the boat. I mean, the system just don't allow you to defend yourself. Now, if they shoot at them, then they can return fire, but by then you might be dead. How much abuse Bahamians must continuously take in this country. But tonight, I have my special guest, Mr. Nolan Johnson. He's a sports trainer. He's also a knowledgeable activist. I spoke to him on plenty of issues, plenty of time, especially crime. He prepared a white paper on crime and on different social issues in this country. He's from High Rock, South Andres. I'm from Andres also, me and him from the same land, but I up a little further south. I'm from Little Creek, while he's from High Rock. He's one of the Johnsons from High Rock. I was one of the Johnsons from Little Creek, South Andres. So we ain't no stranger. Good evening, Mr. Nolan Johnson.
Good evening to you, son. Good evening, Bahamas.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You're supposed to be on this show a long time.
It's only a matter of
radio for 9 years,
invitation.
man. This is your first time. I hope you don't make it your last time.
Well, I hope not. I hope to have another invitation to come back again.
Listen to me. I guarantee you that. Why? Because over the years I had conversation with you in reference to different issues, and you offer great insight and a alternative to one's view on different issues, and I really appreciate it. You give sensible, reasonable, in the conversation I had with you over and over, and I think we have I don't know, I want to say it's a crisis yet, but killing is now becoming a norm in the Bahamian society. And I really want to talk immigration tonight, but I don't mind switching. I don't mind just holding, put it on the back burner for another night, because people are just getting killed in this country just like that. I mean, we are now accepting that it's happening. It will happen. We are now expecting the behavior of Bahamians, like we expecting it to happen. I mean, what's gone wrong, Mr. Johnson?
Well, there could be a myriad of things that could have gone wrong, and maybe still be going wrong. But we have to be mindful of the culture that we're in. And we're in what we call a culture of death. What do I mean by a culture of death? A culture of death where you could say anything that's not acceptable goes. And that could be the reason why there seems to be a sense of lawlessness in this country, because anything goes. We're not stopping to think first as individuals, and secondly, as a nation. We need to start thinking of how can we reverse or even stop this trend. There's an old African proverb that says something like this: A brave man dies once, a coward dies 1,000 deaths. We, in this country, I wouldn't say we're cowards, but we have died many, many deaths. Why? Because we don't want to really face the issues of what's really part and parcel of the problems that faces this community or our community on a daily basis. We cannot and we should not continue to feel satisfied that nothing happened to me today or my family. Anytime something goes wrong in this country, especially when there is a crime of murder, whether it's of retaliation, whether it's of passion or otherwise, should not really set well. One time ago in this country, anytime you hear of a death by violence of any kind, there was always what I call a mourning or healing period in this country. Now that's all, or how many? On a daily basis. And that's what we face with today.
Mr. Johnson, I concur with you. I really feel that we as a people now have accepted murders, deaths, this high level of violence as a norm. I may be wrong, but it's close to that. I think that we as a people really need to catch a grip of what's happening in this country. I mean, I don't know why the churches isn't crying out, the Baptist leaders, the church leaders, the Christian council. I don't understand how is it that no group is really leading the charge instead of just going on Bay Street and having prayers, vigil, and prayer service. And how is it that no one has really realized that we have a serious crime problem in this country? And the crime problem is really amongst black people. And if you check the record and statistics, you might have maybe 2 or 3 Caucasian persons die every 6-7 years. But 99% of the murders are against us. It's against each one of us. It's against us, black people. Like we are similar like Chicago, where they have what? They average so much murders a month, black on black. I mean, sometimes you think that it's a psyche problem in this country. To put a reasonable lid on one of the main causes of this lack of I should say, this lack of fear that Bahamians have, or these people in this country, some of them really ain't Bahamians, they crossbreed, some of them half and half, and because Bahamians never, time before, you go back to some of the Texas I have here, some of the Texas states that the last murder and the last hanging in this country was 2000. I think it was Reckley. In 2000 under the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, and no more hanging with sense. When you had a hanging in this country for someone who committed murder, the town is to be quiet. It's to be quiet, for a while, and then people just all of a sudden then you feel like a burden rise of everyone and everybody start to act as normal. But everybody's look sad and peaceful. But now, people just getting killed, they dropping alongside the road. The area where I speak, in the area there off Wolf Road and Market, in that area, East Street area, they killed a young man, right? They killed a young man, and last night, they killed another young man right in the area again, right? And you wonder, what's happening? How is it that there's no fear of the system, there's no conscience of these humans who just killing people? How could a man be on bail for 4 and 5 murders? I mean, why are we allowing the system to deteriorate? People are losing faith in the system. You know, Mr. Johnson, when the PLP won the government, the people on the street say, oh boy, Wayne Monroe will be, let me repeat that, let me rephrase that. The Honorable Wayne Roosevelt Monroe QC will become the Attorney General, and everyone feel that some things will happen to the justice system and things will get better. People will have better trust. But when the dust settled, the Honorable Wayne Roosevelt Monroe is in charge of national security. We're still close to the justice system, right? But still, he's a qualified, competent Bahamian who's capable of making some things happen and changing some things in this country. And it appears in this country, Mr. Johnson, that vigilante justice has taken over. There's no fear in the justice system. It appears that people don't fear the system no more. Persons who are given bail are killed sometimes the same day that they're given bail. They're on bail for murder, but they get killed the same day. You know, what do you think is the problem, and what do you think is one of the easiest remedy to be carried out in the Bahamas on the 30th September 2021, today, that will bring some sort of relief to the ordinary citizens in this country?
First of all, let me say there's no easy remedy.
Okay.
Because we have to do, as a country, some things that we may not have enough backbone to do.
What's that?
I'll come to that. And that's why I said earlier, a brave man dies once, a coward dies 1,000 dead. That can be equated to law enforcement not doing what law enforcement should be doing. Enforce the law. Now, I'm going to say this hypothetically, and if you may want to speak hyperbole, it may appear that way as well. When you hear things on the street like, the police know where these hot spots are, and those hot spots are allowed to get hot and hotter, to me that's saying, that's a coward dying another day. There's no easy fix. Don't believe there will be an easy fix. There won't be an easy fix. And not until we get a new paradigm shift towards crime fighting can we decide to see any relief from crime. What is that? I may not be able to say right out what that new paradigm shift is or could be or should be. But we have to take a different approach. First of all, like I said earlier, we are in a culture of crime, death, and violence. We're not going to be able to squash or quail or curtail that unless we take a different approach. We cannot continue to wait till someone gets killed until the police shows up on the scene. That's not going to help the situation for the next one. Because now you get 40 police on the next scene, 50 on the next two scenes. It's all seems to be happening right now on the streets. I'm not bashing the police. I have the greatest respect for law and order. But the question is, what do we do? And I'm saying is, law enforcement have to now start enforcing the laws. You know where the hotspots are? Cool it down. Find a way to cool it down.
Yeah, but the killing ain't only a hotspot. The killing is
No, I'm only saying,
nationwide.
right, I'm only saying we are hotspot. I mean, if they say, well, they know where these guys hang out, they know where these guys is big, then if it's true, I'm not saying it is, but you hear it on the streets. If that is true, if it's even close to being true, like I say, where there's smoke, there's fire, if that is even close, then you've got to try to cool it down.
I can tell you that in the 1990s, early 90s, There was a murder on the Eastern Road where two white guys killed a black guy who was in one of the guy's yard, but had left. He was in the road headed on a different direction. But as a result of a report went to them and they came looking for the guy, he really left the yard and he was shot and killed in the road. He was toted, carried from where he was shot back to the yard while his blood followed the truck back to the yard. I mention this case because as a result of that accused being charged and given bail, it resulted in a precedent being set where serious offenses were never ever given bail in this country. Right? Once that precedent was set, other lawyers could use that case that at the level of that court or below as a precedent to guide their reason for justification of bail. Everyone started to get bail for serious offenses: murder, armed robbery, housebreaking, assault, rape, grievous harm. All these serious offenses now are subject for a judge to hear a bail hearing.
But
Things change.
guess what happened as a result of that? It says something about our justice system. It says that our justice system could be like a spider web. Only the small insects are caught in it. What I'm saying is, when things like this happen, it has a ripple effect over the entire nation. It may not be right at that moment that it happens. But when justice seems to be different for you and for someone else and for someone else, then it's like people saying, well, what is justice here?
Yeah, you're right about that.
What is justice here?
Yeah,
And you
you're
see, and I believe I remember that case. I remember that case because what was supposedly the person have to be removed was so trivial that it cost someone that at the end of the whole thing, it's like, hold on. And then after everything that happened as a result of that, it says that, look, the justice system in the Bahamas is like a spider web. Only the small insects will be caught in it.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, sometimes it appears to be, although we must not lose faith in the justice system.
I haven't lost faith.
Yeah, we must not lose faith in the justice system. I must state that. But sometimes it does appear. Can I give you one case? I was preparing a document for public consumption, and doing the research, I found that there was a sports car that killed two tourists, right? While the boyfriend was chasing the girlfriend. I find a case where a gun was pulled on the teacher, take two students out of class, and they was at the airport getting ready to leave. I find a case where a flare gun was fired at a loaded airline on Paradise Island, right? While the plane was landing, because the owner of a club, a hotel and condominium club on Paradise Island, was tired of the noise of the plane because they had an airport on Paradise Island, and he fired at the plane, and he was not a Bahamian, he was able to travel to go to Germany, his homeland, because he was not and he was granted permission to travel after firing at a plane. And the argument was that because his ticket was purchased before he was charged, he was granted permission to leave the country while being charged for a serious offense. You had a case where a tourist was killed by a speedboat from one of the hotel nephews, and he never reached before the court. I mean, he was charged, and that was the end of that. And you had noted persons was caught, charged, and convicted for stealing current from BEC. And I mean, you could go on and on, right? And I don't know if this is one of the reasons why persons lose faith in the system, in the justice system. I don't know if it's it. I don't know if that's one of the main reasons. I don't know if it's because they think the justice system, too much matters are being thrown out, or too much matters are take too long to be heard. You have plenty of victims. I remember they had a matter where a gentleman was charged for a murder, and I think the mother and the daughter was witnesses. I think the mother was killed. I think the daughter was shot until she was paralyzed. She was a witness for murder. And it just appears that the system needs to be revamped, changed. Something needs to happen, because it appears that the justice system is on the brink of collapse in terms of the level of crime and violence in this country.
Let me tell you what I think. I think the justice system is too politicized. Men and women are not given the free, what I call inherent reign within that organization to do their job properly. It's too politicized. As a result of that, I don't believe men and women are executing their duties the way they should. It's too politicized. That also has, in my mind, has spilled over in other areas of this country. We're not, and not until we get a new paradigm shift in how crime fighting or policing or law enforcement is done, we're going to see anything different. As long as the elected people continue to interfere politically with the men and women in uniform, I'm not saying just leave them to their own. What I'm saying is give them the room to work. Give them the resources they need to get their job done. When they say, I need one more pair of hands or pair of feet to go on the ground, then give them one more pair of hands or one more pair of feet to go on the ground. If they need one more car, give them one more car. Don't expect these men and women to go out and really perform their job properly. First, under-equipped. Some of them may, and them, being Catholic and making the sign of the cross. I don't know if all of them are really properly trained sometimes, from what you see from time to time. And maybe this is a result of the politicization within the system.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this. The politicization of the justice system, you would build that somewhat a mindset, somewhat a mindset to that as a result of some of the statements that are made by politicians from time to time. And I'll give you one before I go to the break. I'm going to take a break. I'll give you one. When a noted great Bahamian was killed out west, the Prime Minister at the time, the Right Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie, made a statement, and the mic was put in his face. And I would paraphrase something he said. He said that they have now killed one of us. But man, they've been killing one of us a long time. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation on crime, prevention, and punishment in this country after the break. We're back live at the great studios, Love 97. I'll say good evening to the CEO of this great station, Mr. Wendell Jones, Mr. A. Loftus Roker, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, and listen. Good night, Wayne Monroe, Chester Cooper, Miles Larota, Jomo Campbell. Boy, you all did a good job. And you all started on a good foot. Before I get back to my topic, you all started on a good foot. I like that move with moving those barriers and Munnings Road. And I like that increase of the curfew timing. I like that abolishment of the payment of Bahamians for the returning visa, travel visa. So they're doing some good things. One or two things I don't support. But they're doing more good than bad. Because that one with putting some of those former cabinet ministers back in the key positions in government, would give some Bahamians some little chilling feelings, because if you put your heads to the ground over the hill, the PLP has started very good so far. One or two disagreements with Attorney General, being a person who left cabinet and one of the PLP administration and go and work for a private firm or private bank and people felt that was a slap in the face, and now the PLP, a new day, has bring him back, but we shall see. Maybe he was uncomfortable at the time in the PLP, but he's comfortable now. So some things should happen. He's a very talented, educated Bahamian who did plenty of years in the United States. So he should be able to utilize his knowledge, experience, and talent. So the government shows. And, the national security post, I think, is well deserved. I think the Honorable Bean Roosevelt Monroe QC should do a great job there. I think he's quite competent and capable. So we should have something exchanged. I hope some great recommendations are made to the justice system. I think Bahamians are losing faith, especially in the civil side of the justice system, especially in the Supreme Court and above. I think the time frame is too long. Persons get fed up, they get tired, they give up on that particular part of the judicial system. The labor aspect, in terms of the legal matters, persons have given up almost entirely, especially the labor tribunal, and it's just a total waste of time. It appears that there's no legal feat or legal authority to force these foreign businessmen when they treat Bahamians like hogs and dogs in their own country. It appears that you are hopeless, right? That it's a hopeless case, and they do say majority of times they never carry out the order from the tribunal. I mean, it's just a total waste of time, and Bahamians are just tired, and they feel that they're on their own. And it appears that politicians can't fix it, don't want to fix it, unable to fix it. For what reason? They'll have to tell you. But people are tired. People are tired of systems like the labor tribunal, the civil side system, because plenty of places have civil matters before the court all the time. And how is it that politicians could get their case heard, settled, ruled, ordered, while their case being before their own, and you can't get justice in this country? Go ahead.
I know we switched a little bit, sidetracked a little bit from crime, but you could consider the action of some government agencies to be considered in the same grouping as the crime. And the first person or the first group I would say that hat should be wearing that hat is the government. Why do I say the government? The government, as the largest employer in this country, has more cases against it at the tribunal than any other entity in this country. So you asking the custodian to do the right thing, which is not doing the right thing right now. How do you going to get the other guy or the private person to do the right thing when you yourself, as a custodian, is not doing the right thing? That could be considered an oxymoron.
Yeah,
it's not going to work.
Mr. Johnson, you're right. And I'll tell you this. I had a few persons who were advised to take their matter to the labor tribunal. And it's just a total waste of time. I mean, the panel means well, they are following the statute laws, but it appears to me personally that the politicians intentionally and deliberately stop the legislation at a point where it can be controlled politically. Because how is it that the labor tribunal is at the level of a Supreme Court and their ruling has to be enforced by the Supreme Court, but the same persons who are on the labor panel, tribunal panel, are lawyers? You must be a lawyer, a judge, but when they rule, employers are still, if it is not in their favor, they still are taking advantage of the baby people.
You know, legislation and ruling in those matters, we have to realize that the tribunal doesn't have the teeth that it should have, and that's why it keeps going back there, and that's why, and we realize that once it goes here, that's a delay. And you know, they say justice delayed, justice denied. Look, let's not delay justice to deny it. Okay? Each and every one of these men and women knows quite well what should be done. Do they have the resolve to stand? And again, it goes back, a brave person dies one death, a coward dies 1,000. Are you not going to say anything because you don't want to be maybe be pulled over the coal by your boss? So you say nothing, even though you know it's the right thing should be said and the right thing should be done? So you don't want to do it because you're afraid? Oh, come on.
I can tell you this. I was preparing a criminal paper on crime in this country, and I found out that plenty of the lawyers who are politicians in this country are considered, so right now, he's a human rights lawyer, right? Because I had the late Big Bad Brad on my show a few times, made him talk crime, and you know, I asked him questions and one of the questions I asked him is why politicians won't increase the penalty on gun offenses. I mean, hell with cocaine and marijuana, right? Especially marijuana, right? Well, drugs is a bad thing, but marijuana, right? They increasing fines and penalties on drugs, right? A bush would go in the bush and they smoke, right? But it's nothing. But you could take a gun and you get catch with possession of a firearm, but loaded with full of ammunition, and they give you a year and a half, 2 years. Object that can commit the ultimate offense. When the person die, they don't come back. You could be paralyzed and get back and come back after a while. Therapy bring you back or a miracle bring you back. But when you die, that's you. That's it. So why wouldn't they? Why is it so hard, right? A place like would have like 3-4 million people in Cuba. They have like 2-3 dead a year. We in a country with what 500,000 people, and he's passed 100 murders every year for the last 8-9 years, 10 years, 12 years, right? Over 100. Something got to be wrong. Why? I mean, listen. If you can't get bail for a firearm possession, and you might say, "Oh, what about people who have shotgun and they renew their license?" No. You could create legislation for persons who fail to renew their license. You could create that to eliminate persons being subject to that, right? You get catch with a unlicensed handgun in your waist, or you get catch while in the pursuit of committing an offense, an act committing an offense. Why you can't get 50 years for the gun? Why you can't get 40 years for the gun? Why you can't get 2 or 3 years or 5 years for every bullet? Why? What is this? What would prevent politicians from enacting and creating legislation to protect the people they want to work for them? I mean, why is it so hard? Is it because They believe that one day their children will be caught with the gun and they don't want the law. But I mean, what it is, why? Or do they bring in the illegal guns to this country? I mean, why you can't have 150 years for smuggling guns in this country? Why you can't have 50 years of possession of illegal firearm? Why you can't have 25 years for possession of illegal firearm? And every bullet is a year. What it is? Why we can't? Well, we don't have the will. We don't have we don't have the wherewithal to just. I mean, when we ever fix them in this country, man?
Okay, you asked a question right at the beginning of the show. What might be some kind of a solution? Or what would you recommend? And as we sit in retrospect, we have to now, what I'm going to say is going to be it may sound very, very much out of the box, because it is out of the box, really. Because this will not be the normal way we think in the Bahamas. Let me start by saying something like this. Somebody uses an object in the committing of a crime. That person may die, as you said something a minute ago, may even be paralyzed or become incapacitated to work for whatever reason. So the system says put away for 50 years. Okay, now that sounds good. But what if I say, don't put away for 50 years? That person now have to work and make reparation for the damage it caused for the person not being able to take care of his or her family.
Yeah, but we talk about that. That was part of the white paper that was being prepared, right? Where's reparation, monetary reparation to the families, right? And I said it over and over, because when he had a case on East Street, where a gentleman killed his girlfriend in front of her, I think she had about 3 or 4 little children, and they was crying, hold on their mommy, and the guy blasts some brains out, right on East Street. And those same little children would watch it, that had watched their mom being shot, have to wait and pay national insurance, pay tax, to feed the same fellow who killed their mom.
Yeah, but you see,
why do we have a system that when you had, they move corporal punishment, they move capital punishment, they move hard labor out of the prison system. I don't understand what it is, man. I mean, sometimes you want to figure out, are these real men that has run this country over the years? I mean, why? Why we can't fix one thing so the Bahamians can have one relief on something in this country? You had a former prime minister in this country at one time who went on the international stage and said that the Bahamas have no natural resource. And not one cabinet minister came back and said to them, hey, you talking fool, I resign today. We have natural resources in this country, right? It appears that these people, they got to get cut from a different cloth from the ordinary citizens of this country. That's why they fight the system of other third parties, like CDR, BDM, and DNA, and the coalition. They fight these third parties to maintain a status quo in this country so that things cannot change. It appears that they benefit from a lackluster, worthless government system that allow Bahamians to be distracted and taken advantage of all the time. Give you an example. When I was in high school in 1992, I never forget it. People places was conversating about killing 3 birds with 1 stone, right? Putting the defense force base in Inagua. And they give every good reason to justify that decision. To this day, the defense force base still in Carolina. They have a semi-makeshift base in Inagua, right? That is totally out of bound of dealing with the amount of problems they have in Inagua right now with the infiltration of illegal immigrants from Haiti. So the Dominicans now is taking advantage of that system and killing out the seabed with everything they see what's moving on the ground, right? And so, because they know the defense force is inundated with all these illegal immigrants coming from Haiti as a result of the earthquake and the killing of the president. So it's like, why we are not, why we as a people allow these worthless, good for nothing politicians who don't mean this country no good to just continue to function. And we don't stand up and march and protest as a result of people who don't make no decisions, no hard decisions, no meaningful decisions. It's like they just want the Bahamian people continue to be distracted, infiltrated, and it appears. Because what, I mean, so how is it so hard to put a defense force base in Inagua? Tell me this. The drugs come from Jamaica. That's, you mentioned Jamaica and Colombia. They are the main places. The illegal immigrant from Jamaican places come on boat from Haiti, right? The poachers, main poachers that affect our waters are Dominicans, right? Plenty people in this country who listen to my voice right now don't even know that Haiti and the Dominican Republic is one line, right? It's one line. The Haitians taking the violence of the Bahamians now. They even can cross the imaginary line that Haiti is, what they call it, Hispaniola, is one line. That's Haiti and Jamaica. Yeah? That's one line. And they can't go over to the Dominican Republic. They can't even go over, they're on one line and can't migrate, influx, invade, like how they invade in this country. They can't do it on the land that they living on. They can't do it. So why we allowing this stuff? It's like it's an intentional, deliberate act that's being committed against the Bahamian people. You don't think so? It don't appear so?
No, I don't.
Listen, a boat running from, like they talk right now, a boat running from Coral Harbor Base to Inagua, over almost cover 500 miles. You have two engines running, a generator running, you're burning thousands and thousands of gallons. If you check the last budget for the defense force and get a copy of the actual figures of fuel purchase, it's like it got to be a game against us. We strap for cash in this country right now. The country is in a financial, we now as BA3, junk bond status. And we still have to borrow millions and millions and millions of dollars to run the defense force boat, take them 3 to 4 days to get down in Inagua. And then they stay down there for 2 weeks and come right back. Why? Why we can't? They created a base in Inagua. They created another base. They created a safe harbor. They dredged, remember the Sandy Bottom project? What had the defense force base in Inagua? Where they spent all the money that Jamaican company was doing the work. So, over what? The loan was what, $300, $400 million? So why are we still allowing politicians to get away with these bad and worthless and dumb decisions of trying to correct the problem? It's like a deliberate act designed to keep Bahamians distracted and keep you in debt so that you could be blinded by what they're doing or something. It gotta be something. Why they wouldn't fix the problem, Mr. Johnson?
Well, that's a good question. Why they wouldn't fix the problem?
Take this call, please.
Go ahead.
Primetime Independent Thinker, good evening.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Yes, sir. Well, I didn't know you. Sorry for that. My bad. I didn't know you was on the line. I just turned my face this way and saw the board light right up, and I didn't know.
Yes, good afternoon to you again.
Yes,
Good
sir.
afternoon to you, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to take some articles, but when you raise the issue on crime, you know, being my friend from many years, and a man who's trying to make a very good contribution in this country, we salute you, independent thinker. But I listened to the brother, and I'm not going to knock his point. I think you both have a view. But independent thinking, my brother. I got a call from an old senior lady yesterday. She's in her 80s, and she was crying on the phone about the homicide. And she said, oh God, no one want to talk about it. And I said to her, Mom, the Bahamas and the world we want to know. We are spiritually bankrupt. Now one may ask, what do I mean? I hear you talk about the system. and I didn't call to take over your show. And I really, I'm not going to stop preaching. The world is spiritually bankrupt. With theories. Let me tell you what I mean spiritually bankrupt. The family structure, my brother independent thinker, you know that's my passion. You check this past election past. Not one person campaigned on the issue of the family. Not one program was offered on the issue of the family. All those political parties, no one talk about the state of the political, the erosion of the family. Let me just say it. Any nation, according to my Bible, who tries to replace God's divine lifeblood, which is the family, that nation is in trouble. Every bloodshed that's shed in this country, our nation is in trouble. And I agree with the new minister, Minister Wayne Monroe, but nobody responded to that. We have to first fix the family. I heard him yesterday morning. Until we learn to raise our children and invest in our children, this will continue. The family structure is eroded, and we're trying to replace it to traditional family. What do I mean by traditional family? Traditional family means husband, wife, children. Now you have men on some of these talk shows with their liberal views. They married to another man or living with another man. Laugh.
No, listen, I gotta laugh how you said, man. Listen, you're 100% correct,
And
right?
again, women on some of these talk shows, they share the same view. So this is spiritual. You got places in the U.S. like Anderson Cooper and all of those, married to my husband and etc. That's spiritually bankrupt. And that check will never be able to cash because it will mark insufficient.
So
God is angry with the world.
go-
Trying to replace the traditional.
Caller, so you believe that one of the leading issues as a result of the erosion of morality and ethics and the tradition and the way that life was intended of being is one of the greatest problems that the world is facing in reference to crime and punishment.
We trying to tell God that he made a mistake. I heard a brother in there, and I'm not gonna knock him, or he's a Catholic. I heard a brother.
Yeah, but he ain't saying nothing towards man.
No, I heard him, and he said he made the time God. Listen to me. The Pope is one of the greatest liberal-minded man who don't believe in the family. And we have a lot of pastors right here locally. Like I said, we talk with the politicians. You have not in this country can find a suitable program from some of our pastors who talk about the family. Oh, but you can hear about the prosperity gospel.
Yeah, but caller, I'll tell you this. Right? And the tradition of family and all this. The whole church system has changed. I mean, this prosperity gospel, and you will get a car, and you will get a house, and you will find this, and you will this. No, listen, this prosperity gospel has taken over. These people are living off the. You understand? You got church members who catching the bus to church, but the pastors them get helicopter. They get 3 and 4 homes or best. They travel in jets, and they got their own plane. Listen. The system is falling apart, and you're right with the family structure.
I'm agreeing with you everything you're saying, but you're saying it's the system. But I'm not knocking. This is spiritual. They don't want to talk about it because they know long as they see once they could be in control, the system that you create, the system is in favor of them. But the traditional family is in favor of God, and that's where the system corrupts, and this is why the spiritual we are spiritually bankrupt. Nobody never want to raise the issue about the erosion of the traditional family. You check it. You listen. I will
let him respond. I will let him respond to you while But listen, Mr. Johnson, before you respond to that caller, I say, hey, Greg Beeman, I can advertise him. That's Dr. P from Dr. P's Barbershop on Robinson Road. So if you want a good cut, you want a good facial cut, a good massage on your face, and get a good cut, perfect cut. Dr. P's Barbershop on Robinson Road, right next to Super Wash. Dr. P's Barbershop. He's a good friend of mine, and go and get your perfect cut. You don't want those ugly looking bumps and stuff. Listen, Dr. P's Barbershop on Robinson Road. But listen to me. He's right. I mean, he's right with some of the things he said. I don't agree with everything he said because I ain't gonna look to no pastor, no priest, no bishop, and no pope. And listen, when they was one, it shocked me, right? I was never no Anglican or no Catholic, but he had a very talented archbishop who's running to be the pope. He was in the last set to be the pope, and he's from Africa, I think. Right? And he made a statement, and it shocked me when he said that if there is no homosexuals in heaven, he don't want to go there. Right? If you preach in the Bible, right? If you preach it, you mustn't hate homosexuals. You mustn't have nothing against them. You mustn't be, that's their body, that's their right, that's their choice. Right? They have their conscience. But you can't be a man, when you get a man like Jeannie Robinson, he get his husband on stage and he's a bishop. You think I can still be an Anglican or Catholic? Man, I can't go to that. No, you can't keep sweetheart like coming to your church. It is virtually, I used to have shows where I had pastors, and I asked the question, can a man rob God, right? And that stemmed from me asking the question, how do a member for a church could lose their business, lose their home, right? Like how the pandemic, I'll give you an example. I had a pandemic. Persons lose their job on Paradise Island, lose their job in different places, couldn't meet their mortgage. By you being a member of a church, the money they save over the last 50 years, how is it that they can't use it to help you pay your mortgage until you get your job back? How is it that God ain't coming down to spend the money on their account? So how is it that the church ain't some place where you contribute your 10%, you pay your tithes, but if you need the church that you go to, that they are giving you, so they just buying the money and put millions of dollars on the account? And I mean, so much problems inside this country, so much problems that people face it and can't understand why people losing faith in the entire system, Mr. Johnson. People losing faith. What say you?
I say people are losing faith, but with respect, I really don't want to get into the side of, and when I said I'm Catholic, so I was making the sign of the cross, not to suggest that I'm trying to bring Catholicism or what my beliefs are on the show. It has nothing to do with that. So if I gave you that impression, caller, I do apologize. That was not the intent. So, I would not try to answer that question in the context of how the religious side affects what happens, but I do know, in a sense, that when we lose our spiritual values, that is difficult to replace. I'll say it and leave it as that. But I'll say this though, as we continue on this journey as to some of the things that we could do, let me tell you, and I think I've told this to Independent Thinker some time ago, and he said, no, but I have done that. And I said that, well, I'm not saying you didn't, but I'm saying more of that should be done. And I hear many, many occasions, I really don't call them talk shows, I don't, but I listen to them. I have a passion for them. And I hear many, many things, I hear many, many suggestions and
No, caller. Primetime Independent, go ahead, caller.
You're live.
You're live, caller. I want to ask you before you begin your descent. What do you believe is the reason that the crime is out of control in this country, and that how is it that Bahamians are accepting and sitting by idly and doing nothing? Go ahead.
Listen, do you really want me to answer you truthfully?
Honestly, I don't call nobody name now.
Now, I ain't calling nobody name.
All right, sir.
I'm going to tell you truthfully.
Call for people.
When the humans pray, they always pray to a man. Because they're saying, our Father who art in heaven. A man does not fit the caliber of infinite being. You know that's ever never.
You sound like, hold on now,
Our Father who art in heaven.
Right, listen.
You're supposed to say, our Father which art in heaven.
Right, listen, caller.
Wait, let me finish. Let me let you know that more than 90% of the human people do not know what the Son of God means. The Son of God that is responsible for all life. If that thing was shining in the sky, what we see every morning, that is responsible for the trees, the water, for everything, they don't recognize that we need to learn of the Son of God more, and these mom islands are not to have crime, anyway, because the people do not know what God is. I'm saying what God is, not who. Who cannot do it? What God is. What do you think?
Caller, where has we as a people gone wrong, right? Well, what's just, I mean, we having murders almost every day or every other day. How is it that?
Listen to this carefully. A country that does not know what God means will have worse than that. Don't you understand what's taking place here? All these preachers and all these people who pray into God, like I said, do not know what God is.
But I tell you,
a spirit is not a man.
You know, I tell you, I didn't know I witnessed something based on what, just some piggyback on what you said. I remember this guy, this pastor, he was charged on East Street. He was charged for uncommon knowledge. I think he went I think the girl was about 13 years old. Unlawful knowledge. Unlawful common knowledge. And the child was about 13 or something like that. He was a pastor of church, right? And he was convicted. And they allowed him, no, he was convicted. Yeah, they allowed him out of, no, he wasn't convicted. His trial was to start the next morning, right? They had sufficient information, they had sufficient evidence to charge him. And he was charged and he's out on bail. And they had church service that night. And all the members of the church, and they prayed and they prayed and he prayed and they cried and they prayed all that night. And he got to go out that morning, you know, right? And he go to court, get convicted, he go to jail, right? So I said to myself, right? These people are so dangerous, right? Why you in the church? All right, he got charged, right? He was innocent and proven guilty, right? But he got charged for going with a 13-year-old. They had that sufficient evidence to take a pastor to court to charge him, right? A 13-year-old child, right? And you think I could be in there talking, I praying to God to save him going to jail? Man, would you? Listen, I watched live on the news, right? 2 things happened in America. They had the first transgender bishop, right? And then they had one called Jeannie Robinson, where he husband on the stage, right? While he wife in the congregation clapping for them. I tell you, I don't understand how we got so confused, right?
Listen, Marlon.
Yes, sir.
They got this in the Vatican, and that's supposed to be the head of all churches. Now, that's the reason why I say the Bahamian people who know what God is, they are following a system that is totally corrupt. Now, let's get to another subject, man.
Yeah, we talk about crime. What do you think needs to happen with this, with the criminal activity that's happening in this country, with all these gun smuggling, high level of crime by the use of firearm? What you think should happen? My suggestion was that we increase the penalty on every bullet. You get 5 years. Every gun, you get 50 years. High-powered rifle, you get 75 years.
We need to go to Sharia law.
Sharia?
We need to go to Sharia law. Where when you commit a crime, you ain't gonna commit that crime again. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you have these human rights lawyers who in Parliament now, they will come up with this this human rights and all kind of things for criminals, but they I don't hear them arguing for the human rights for victims. I mean, the victim justice in this system that we portray as a judicial system is laughable. When you have witnesses are being killed, why should a person get killed today and the person get charged next month, and then you have to wait 10 and 12 years for them to be tried? The witness done tired trying to protect their life to live and survive. You know, let me give you this caller. A place called Finland around the world where if you not tried in 90 days, in 60 days, if you not tried, if your mother isn't tried in 60 days, you're a free man.
Yes.
You know, a system like that, I mean, can almost give you a perfect result.
Yes,
Because it matched the old saying where justice delayed, justice denied, and if you not tried in 60 days,
yes.
you're a free man. Go ahead, caller.
Listen, let me tell you something. All these people who we elect as our servants, you call them out of the ship, but they are our servants. They need to know what God is. As long as they try to find what God is, it's going to be all right. Now, let me tell you, there's been some guys who've been promising people in this last election $100,000 and this not resulting this way and the next way and the next way.
I don't want you to knock them now, because they got plenty of work. Take it easy.
I ain't calling on this. Right? But those things you shouldn't tell the very many people.
Yeah, but you know, see, I think there's been overzealous, right? But you know, well, I think they're trying to make a point. Honestly, I'm not going to defend them because I'm not a part of their association or party or whatever, right? But I think they're trying to tell the Bahamian people something that, listen, other places around the world like Singapore, different places around the Kuwait and all them, the citizens benefit from the natural. Who benefits from the natural resources in this country? You tell me.
Yeah, in this country,
Who? They being told the Raganite out of Bimini and Katki from 1946.
We receive the sunshine of God every day. Now that's number one. That's one of our natural resources too. Now when you get to talking about other things, let's talk about other things. I mean, it's only certain few that enjoy the rest of it. And that's the reason why we have to put a stop to it right now and try and reap some of the benefits. You understand?
I hear you. I listening to you, man. I let you talk. Primetime, independent nigga.
Hey, Primetime.
Yes, sir.
The greatest man on the face of I call you, I respect the lie, right? But I want to call you and personally thank you across the airwaves for what you have done for me and my neighbor on Fort Castle with your equipment.
Yes, sir. That's no problem, my brother.
And the thing about it is, you did it. This is the second time you do it, and you did it 3 times.
Yes, sir. That's no problem, man.
Really appreciate that, Marlon.
Yes, sir.
You understand? So
I appreciate the call, too. Yes, sir.
And your company will be full second and third on the list when it comes to hiring somebody.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate the call.
Thank you.
I appreciate the call, too.
Yeah, man, I call it.
We do it all the time, but places don't take the time out and mention. So, you know, I really appreciate it because, you know, I do it as a part of me. That's a normal thing for me. That's a custom to me. I don't have a problem with that.
You call that national pride.
Yeah, man, but I was supposed to call you all the time, but...
No, I had a feeling you was a little down out. I had a feeling.
I thought I had COVID, but, you know...
But you're all right, though. You're all right now.
Yeah.
I will come and pay you a visit sometime this month, and I want you to remember.
Yes, sir.
It's a new day.
Nobody. One or two of the wheels under the front of that train like I did get
Yeah.
One or two of the fix.
Yeah.
The 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They kind of
Yeah, we watching it. Now you know, I's a fella. I just take plenty blows. My shoulders are broad like the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingraham, and we're keeping our eye on some things that are happening. But I want to give the Right Honorable Hugh Philip Brave Davis the benefit of the doubt. I think that he started on a good foot. In my personal view, I want him to just be careful.
Yeah.
And just be careful. But you gotta be very careful because some persons.
We need him to do good this time.
Right, we need him to do good, and we ain't only worrying about getting a second term. We worrying about trying to create a new paradigm in this country where Bahamians now could feel that we have to do good. We'll do all we could to help the government do our part. And I want him to bring a local government into the inner city. Let it be one of his key statements to bring a local government into every constituency in Nassau, and it'll help him deal with this crime problem because you'll put some burden and responsibility on the ordinary citizens to do their part.
Yeah, it could be hard, but all Bahamians willing to work with Brave across the divide in order to get this thing right. Because if he don't do it, if he do not do it, man, I can leave you with this. You see that new day? That's going to turn into afternoon. And then that afternoon gets turned into evening. And then that new day gets turned into a nightmare.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I want you to take care, be careful, and I should see you when I arrive. Yeah, that's one of my good friend up at Fort Charlotte, and his dad was one of my mentors, Oscar Johnson.
Oh, great.
Oscar Johnson. One of Oscar Johnson, the late great Oscar Johnson. Sons. We're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back. I'm gonna continue our conversation with my special guest, Mr. Nolan Johnson, a sports trainer and knowledgeable activist. We're going to continue our conversation when I come back. A reference to the crime and justice system in this country. Is it fair? Is it double jeopardy? Is it for the rich or the poor? And we return after the break. We're back live at the Great Studios of Love 97 on the last leg of the show. This is Primetime with Independent Thinker, my special guest, Mr. Nolan Johnson from High Rock, South Andres, a sports trainer and knowledgeable activist. We're talking some crime talk, crime and punishment and what needs to happen. I have you on the justice system, but I must update you that the Facebook page, as a result of this internet playing crazy again, we will have to upload the show on Facebook, and you could be able to get a copy from there or watch it from Facebook on my page, Independent Thinker. And that's my Facebook page. You like it, and when the show is uploaded, you can watch the show on Facebook. But if you want to reach us before you can reach us at 326-8255, 326-8255, 326-8255. Your next call on line. Primetime with Independent Thinker.
Independent thing, how you doing, man?
Yes, sir.
Good night, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
Yeah, independent thing, I think like in Albany, like a multi-purpose, like hurricane shelter, base, office, stores. I'm talking about, it's like a mini city, is what I have basically. With them, a structure is a mega structure that is, like the footprint is like 245 feet square, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's over 30,000 square feet. That's on the base, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's like, I think in like 10 stories, okay? I think in like a hurricane shelter, I think in like having like ramps that go up like 20 feet, and then the next ramp go up like 32 feet, okay? But all
you're trying to create a structure for the purpose of a multi-purpose structure where for hurricane, for the invasion of illegal immigrants and something. That's what you're trying to create.
Lookout point, everything all in one. And I'm talking about.
Why don't you draw something? To that effect?
I already have everything up. What I want to do is build make a model of it, because of what I have in my mind. I'm talking about the capacity to store water, even to have like a whole solar array on it. And I'm talking about the whole gambit, and even like generators and everything. Everything would be in safe place. Even if you have the 20-foot base, nothing will get wet.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I support you. Something, draw it out. I mean, you know, demons, we are famous of thinking out the box.
Because I mean, I've been doing a lot of math on it, like basically, you know. But I mean, like in total, if it's utilizing like the whole every aspect of the 10 foot at least the 10-story structure. I was thinking counting like on the bottom that it's going to be like 20 feet up on piles, okay?
Yeah.
And it's going to be like 3 feet off the ground. But I mean, it's like if you got like 20-foot waves, like until then.
Like how you had in Abaco. I tell you, I went Freetinga. I went Abaco after the hurricane to carry some equipment for the government at the time, Doreen. And while I was there and I finished the offload, I was encouraged to assist the boats them there and take some of the debris out of the harbor, right? Because of the water so high on the land, when it started to ascend, it dragged plenty of cable and ropes and all kind of thing in the harbor, and the boats them was bringing in supplies, were catching plenty problem with cables going around, a prop rope going around, a prop and stuff like that. And I take out, every time I drop that bucket with the excavator on that ground, on the seabed, I come up with tons of rubbish. And I walk off from the barge up a little ways up on the land. And listen, they had a steel Haitian vessel. The tide carried that by Kentucky drive through. Where you drive through to order, he had a steel hull Haitian boat up there, way up there by the drive through by Kentucky. That's a high though. The water with the seaweed markers on the roof of the 2-story building. I never seen none of that yet.
People never say something that's real, right? And one day something, just by design, but I tell you, I go model, right? But one day something, like, and this, like, it's going to be, I see it sitting on like 9 acres, right? Because the footprint is going to be like one acre base. It's a little over an acre, just the structure itself, right? And like the ramp to it is going to be like a double ramp. Like the one is at 20 feet and the next one is like at 38 feet, because you know, I look into to run up like on that 38 feet. I look into run up like rigs up there carrying supplies and whatever, and the structure will have a spiral staircase. I think it's big, right? The staircase itself is going to be like a 10-foot spiral staircase that runs from the bottom straight to the top. As elevators, we want you to get that, right? But then the whole thing, I looking to make it breathable so that it's going to be a natural induction system. I'm talking about whereby like air exchanges, even like to say with water and everything. I look like that.
Well, you go ahead. What you need to do is go ahead and prepare something to drawing, sketch it out, put the colors and stuff like that, and you'll be surprised to know, how far that could go. I mean, trust me, thinking out the box, for instance, indoors, even maybe even other companies might want to take a look of some of your innovative ideas. So that's not a bad thing. Mr. Johnson, we are almost out of time. We got about 6 more minutes, and 326-8255. 326-8255. You want to catch the last remaining 5 minutes of the show. This is Primetime with Independent Thinker on the great station of Love 97. My special guest, Mr. Nolan Johnson from High Rock, South Andres. He's a hometown boy, because I'm from South Andres too. Mr. Johnson from Little Creek up across the 2 bridge. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're talking about crime. You didn't get a chance to
to
really flesh it, because you know what I want you to do?
Yes.
When I call you, when I bring you back again, I want you to bring a copy of that document.
Okay.
So we can pick out portions of
Okay.
different sectors of it
Okay.
and talk about it.
Okay.
Because plenty Bahamians are yearning for information,
Okay.
for a chance to see a different way out.
A different view.
It
different point of view.
feels that we are trapped, right, in a box. Because plenty persons feel that, hey, we can't do with illegal immigrants. We just need to just do this and shoot the boat away. You can't do that.
Okay.
But you could put things in place so that's it.
But let me say this because I know we're short on time. Let me say this. Something that I touched bases with you some time ago, and I think media houses can play a great part in this. Here's what I mean. The election was just a few weeks ago, and they had candidate after candidate after candidate on their show. But they never had a constituent say, let me tell the candidate what I'd like to see happen. And I'm saying is, that in itself is a paradigm shift. Why do we always believe that we need the candidate to come to tell the people what we can do for you? Why can't we have the people saying to the candidate, if you want my vote, then this is what I think, how you should be able to work?
Yeah, but Mr. Johnson, what you saying is a perfect thing. But see, the system that these politicians strive on, the social promotional system, hodgepodge, as it happens, we deal with it. Listen to me. I ask a question all the time, and you're a perfect example. How is it that you need to be 6 months in a consistency in order to vote, right? So in order to vote, you need to be living there for 6 months. But in order for you to run in that consistency, you don't even have to live there. You live inside Life at Key, and you running inside St. Barnabas, or you running inside Angliston, or you running inside a different consistency. Why?
Did you see the paper
Why?
I did on what it would take to vet a candidate?
No, I didn't see that. You didn't bring that.
I gave it to you.
No, that.
I gave it to
give
you.
it over the crime. I read it over the
No,
crime.
I gave you 3. I give you
No, I
three.
read them too.
Yeah.
I doesn't read the
I
next
give-
one.
Yeah.
I read the one on the crime.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That one too.
Mhm. What it takes to be a candidate.
Yeah, how the procedures they should go through and even vetting a candidate.
No, but I wouldn't even go that far.
No, I'm only saying-
I wouldn't even go that
I'm
far
saying
telling
because-
political parties what they must do, I wouldn't even go that far. Let me show you why. It clearly shows that the system is flawed. Why would I need 6 months to live in a consistency in order to vote when a fellow don't even live there,
That's
could
the
run
point-
there?
That's the point I'm
Well,
making. But that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
When I said vetting of a candidate, because now you have to be saying is that is something that will be taken into consideration as well.
Right, because then
Right.
you
Yes.
Bill Garrity
Yes.
will end up with the wrong
Yes.
person.
Right.
Because he don't know how I feel. He's not, and listen, half the
Right.
candidates you see, Ben, you ain't see them until the next 4 years, not 5 years yet. Right? And trust me, I'm going to tell you, the government right now, as a result of whatever decision the former administration made, by putting $100,000, every single member of parliament is get $100,000 for your constituency. Or Jamal Banana Corporation, or your MPs get $100,000 for you a year. So in 5 years, they get $500,000 for you to spend on you. Now, do you get it? That's your business. I can tell you this. How is it that you get $100,000 to spend on me, and again, directly in your account? No. The government can find $100,000 to give every MP. You know what they can do? Take the $100,000, give it to local government and every constituency. Tell them, listen, instead of the government spending all this money trying to do this for you, all you can do some of these things yourself. Create your own crime watch system.
yes, you're
Monitor
right.
your own crime watch
You're right.
cameras.
You're right.
Keep alongside your road clean. These some garbage truck these consistency will get. Hire some young fellas in your area to pick up your garbage. Pay them from the 100,000. You can do plenty things, and by helping these, empower them, give them some. Keep people to watch. Plenty crimes wouldn't even. That you change to this
But
country.
what you are asking primarily is for a government to start sharing power, which they're not prepared to do. And that's why they keep the system the way it is. No government in this country has been prepared to share power.
I believe-
That's a form of
I
sharing
believe
power.
the Right Honorable Philip Ray Davis, maybe
Maybe.
prove you wrong.
Maybe.
Maybe
Well,
prove you wrong
he has the chance
to do it.
to do it, to prove me wrong.
Well, I tell you, boy, we flat on the time. It's 9 o'clock. That's been prime time with Independent Thinker. My special guest tonight, Mr. Nolan Johnson from South Andres High Rock, a sports trainer and knowledgeable activist. I have to bring you back from time to time. I get another good guest like you who's come from South Andres, Kevin Moxie, right? Listen, when I bring him on, I say I'm on. Because guess
Okay.
what? He's a straight fella,
Yeah.
honest fella like you. He is straight, and he ain't scared to think out the box just like you. And he always have an idea where you could do this and this what's happening. And you might agree, but it's a food for thought
Precisely.
because it makes sense.
Precisely.
It's sensible and it's reasonable.
Precisely.
Right? And the same thing you do and the same thing you said. I asked the question like, is it reasonable? Is it right where the gun is commit the ultimate offense? How is it that politicians don't see fit that gun killing people, gun committing the ultimate offense where a person can't come back.
Not the gun.
Why we, hold
Not
on,
the gun.
why we are not trying, see, putting 25 years on a firearm ain't stop the killing, right? Not immediately, not over the long term, but it's a start. So plenty steps need to happen in order to deal with this crime. But are you prepared? Are you willing? I make a statement from a former member of parliament and the PLP administration. He was Leslie Osborne Miller, and he said that because of the high level of killing in this country, and he said that parliamentarians who are not prepared, right, to support capital punishment should leave parliament, right? And not one member of parliament I can remember who came to his support. Because majority of them there are human rights lawyers who support. I mean, I don't mind you being a human rights lawyer, and it will hurt my soul to know that one Bahamian or one human is killed or hanged and didn't commit the murder. But it's processes to prove where these things can happen. Gone are the days where they releasing all those persons or the jail in the States who was convicted for crime that they didn't commit. Babe, we have a system here that, let's say, you can't be on bail for 5 murders and you ain't do nothing. Somebody killing these people. You gotta be all the time. You're flat all the time. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I hope when I call you, I hope when I ring the bell, you answer.
I'll answer.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
Our show tonight, talk about crime. Next week, I'm gonna try and get someone from immigration so we can deal with some of these problems that this country continues to face over the years. I will try and get some documents from my good friend and mentor, A. Loftus Roker. So when I come back next week, you'll get some startling information. 7:30 next week, Thursday, Primetime, with Independent Think. I will end with a quote from the great late Cylinder Oscar Pillin. If Bahamians aren't prepared to stand up and fight and defend their own Bahamas, then they don't deserve to have it. Good night, Bahamas.